Let me remind you about the thematic research review mechanism. It is intended to support the core mission of the ARC, which is to build capacity, to advance research and training to inform economic policies in sub-Saharan Africa. So tomorrow you will see researchers assembled in 5 separate conference rooms. 5 separate conference rooms because we have 5 separate research teams. We have research team on poverty, microeconomic policies, finance, political economy, and so on. So what goes on in that room, and each of these conference rooms is very, very interesting. You have researchers drawn from around the continent, from universities, central banks, and a variety of policy institutions. And they present research in various stages of development, beginning with new proposals, and then get reviewed by each other. That's what peer reviews. And this goes on for 3 days, and then it will be followed by technical session where individual researchers now meet resource persons and make them accountable to what they said. And by the time they leave Nairobi, or it could be Arusha, it could be Cape Town, they would know exactly what they are supposed to do by the time they come back in 6 months. Now, I mentioned resource persons, and I really wish to thank resource people. These are actually volunteers drawn from around the globe, and they'll be monitoring the peer review. And they are the ones who will be responsible for writing review reports. So this is what we do in the thematic research. Now, ARC has actually taken that to the next level into another program called collaborative research. And the idea with the collaborative research is that we leverage researchers who have actually gone through this review process, through a thematic review process, and then the resource people who are actually drawn from around the globe, and then other thought leaders to actually work on big issues, which cannot be done by just 1 or 2 individuals. It will be food security, climate change, capital flight, and so on. And we have a series of collaborative research activities. They were actually synthesized and discussed yesterday as a prelude to the policy roundtable that we featured. So for the plenary topic, we pick an area of contemporary policy interest. And there are 2 reasons for doing that. One of the central agenda items of the ARC is to conduct research to inform policy. So the agenda has to be of contemporary policy interest. And then we are actually getting thought leaders who are experts at a global level to present commission framework papers, which will also be discussed by experts in that area. So the second reason is actually to expose these researchers who will actually follow up the next day to best global research practices. Today, we have picked a topic on financial inclusion and innovation in Africa. We did that because ARC has just celebrated its 25th year of existence, and is doing so really at exciting times for Africa. We've been talking about this growth syndrome, and then if you look at the aggregate, economic performance indicators, things look very impressive. And as you know, it's not accidental. It is an outcome of labor of extensive economic and financial sector reforms that have actually taken place over the years, including empowerment of private initiative. But then, as we discussed yesterday, the jury is still out on the extent to which this growth is shared and inclusive. And we regard that finance is actually at the center of promoting inclusion. And that's why we have a topic on financial inclusion today. And then we have a second reason. As I mentioned to you yesterday, ARC is in the midst of basically transforming. Maybe transforming is a very strong word. We are engaged in a variety of priorities and strategies to take ARC to the next level of excellence. And one of the strategies is expanding the domain of research that we have been engaged with for over the years, which tends to be very heavily oriented by the public sector. And it's now time to bring about a robust public-private partnership, and especially on issues of mutual interest. So, for instance, in the area of finance, issues of risk management, governance, even financial regulation are at the interface of public and private sector. So what we've done today is, after the presentation of framework papers, we will have a panel that's inclusive of public and private partners. So you can actually think of today's activity as an entry of ARC into a private domain. So I said I'm going to be brief, since like most of you here, I've been I've grown the research arm of the ARC. So I actually began getting engaged with ARC as a resource person. And then I've now been given this responsibility of overseeing ARC. So one thing that I didn't quite appreciate is the depth and the scope of another arm of the ARC, which is training. So, and it's been quite a learning experience. So there is a huge training arm of the ARC that we don't actually see here. And so one of our new strategies is to create sufficient and robust integration between research and training. And in some sense, the training arm could be an input, say, to thematic research. And we're already doing that in the case of CPP, collaborative doctoral program, thesis presentations, done the same mechanism in these biannuals. But we also have masters, collaborative masters in economics, collaborative masters in agricultural economics, and of course a PhD. As I said yesterday, my first entry to this training arm was when I was asked to, by the way, I have been I do a lot of openings for ARC. And in fact, I'm actually building an interesting capacity to open. And so they told me to come and open this thesis dissemination workshop in Addis Ababa for collaborative masters. And what I saw was kind of remarkable, because apparently researchers have taken data from smallholder farmers and actually written a thesis based on the data. And then now it's time for them to communicate back to the farmers. So I go into this room, I see farmers, researchers, NGOs, policymakers in the same room. This is, to me, at least in the training arm, a very good, example and hallmark of research meeting policy. And I would like to point out that at this stage of the ARC, two very important evaluations are being undertaken. One of which is the thematic research itself. So we have our friends Steve O'Connell and Dominic are actually designated as evaluators. They will be reaching out to you to get information, and we are at the stage where we are ready for any kind of input, so long as it's useful for us to move ARC to the next level of excellence. We will have meetings. We'll have two separate meetings of resource persons, the regular and the CPP. There, we will also have those two evaluators. As it turned out, I don't think this has ever happened before. The strategic plan is also being evaluated. This is the overall strategic plan, and this is something that gets done in preparation for the next 2015 to 2020 plan. Our two evaluators, John Loxley and Governor Khaled Fundunga are also here. In fact, all of these 4 evaluators are right in this room. Maybe we should actually get up. John Loxley, Governor Fundunga, where are you? Maybe he's still sleeping. Okay, Dominic from Thematic, and Steve will announce when I don't think he's here. So they will all be at these 2 meetings. So we are excited about opportunities and strategies, and things are actually looking up. Also in resource mobilization efforts, there were things kind of going, the other way. I think we have been able to turn that up. And one of the ways that we're doing is by going back and re-engaging with our old friends who had exited for some strange reason. And I'm pleased to say that they are in the process of coming back. And then we are also engaged in a very robust strategy of enhancing African stakeholdership. Yesterday we had a roundtable, an alumni roundtable, given just one agenda item. The agenda item was the future of ARC, sustainability and viability, with really emphasis on getting more African stakeholders. I think